Here we go, here we go, here we go. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Tom, which makes me happy. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I got new equipment, new phones. I haven't hooked them all up yet. I got I got new microphones I'm not using yet. I look at them and I'm like, someday I'm going to use that. I just haven't done it yet. So it's good to see you.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm excited to hear that you got some new equipment. I'm assuming that at some point we're gonna end up on a call where you're gonna be asking me how to hook it all up.
Yeah, how do I hook this up to this? And why I'm missing a wire, I'm missing a nub, whatever those things are.
The
So
nub.
yeah.
Is that a technical term? I don't think that's
Yeah,
a.
there's so many little
Not
things
familiar with
like
that one.
so many things that connect wires to another wire. Like you're like, what the hell is this? I
That
just
looks
have a
like a
whole
USB-A to USB-C adapter.
yeah, I have a whole drawer of things that hook up from one cord to another cord. Like how people would put extension cords into like the two prongs to three prongs to two prongs. That's what I feel like with these little adapters that you're always hooking something up to something else. So it's no good. All right, all right. So
Yeah.
today, Tom, this is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Phil Hill here. We're going to get some visitors through here. So we're going to talk about networking today. I got multiple Tom's thumbs for you today, and I got a show and tell later on. This is going to be an exciting little show we have here.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think I have. I'm not going to say what it is yet. We were talking before we got on, but I think I know what one of the Tom's thumbs is because it just happened yesterday and it tracks with something else you've asked me about. I think it was one of the first Tom's thumbs actually. So I think I know what one of them is. We'll wait and see, but I have no idea what the other one is. So I'm looking forward to it. Oh, you're on mute, buddy. Nobody can hear you.
Here I go. I'm waving to people. I'm telling them it's been nice to see you, and because we've been on summer hours. So everybody, welcome back. Phil Hill, come on up and talk to us. Anybody that wants to come through, send us a message on LinkedIn. Where are we at today, by the way, Tom? Where do we stream?
Yeah, we're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn and Twitch. So that's where we're streaming today, and yeah, that's where we stream every episode. So we're all over the internet, so to speak.
There we go. It's good to be all over the internet. All right, Tom, we were talking about networking. You brought up the idea to me. Are people doing it wrong? Or are we doing it wrong? That's when I phrase the question. Are people doing it wrong? Are we doing it wrong? So yeah, we can be presumptuous and say that are you doing it wrong? But maybe we're all doing it wrong. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, look, I've done over the last 6 or 7 years, I've done a fair amount of both in-person and virtual networking. I know you do a fair amount of networking as well. And I think based on that experience, right, which I know I understand is, limited evidence, but based on my own anecdotal experience, I would argue that there's a fair number of people who are doing networking wrong. And here's what I mean by that. Networking, I think, is often conflated with sales. There's a lot of times when I've been in networking rooms, whether it's virtual or in person, when I've been in a networking space, and there have been people who were there clearly attempting to sell people in the room. And that's not how networking is designed to work. It's not how it's supposed to work. That's not how it does work. Right. And all of those people that go into a networking event or a networking room and try to sell people in the room in real time are doing it wrong. That's my sort of supposition. The reason this was on the front of my mind was because I recently, just a couple of days ago, had a conversation with a young guy, a guy in his mid-20s who just joined a networking group that I'm a part of. And he told me he gave me a really interesting perspective on networking, one that I hadn't heard articulated quite this way, but it made a lot of sense that he got from his mentor, right? And that perspective was that his mentor had also been a member of this same networking organization at one point, And his mentor's approach to it was to join not to make sales, not to increase his client load, not to increase or grow his business specifically. His intention with joining this networking group was to expand his network such that he had the opportunity to then generate relationships with people, build trust with people, so that he could refer his clients, his existing clientele, to those people. He's somebody in the financial planning industry, right? Financial management, and he would often get questions from clients, or things would come up in conversations with clients where it would be clear that they needed some other assistance, right? They needed a contractor, they needed someone in the trades, they needed an attorney for a real estate transaction, or what have you, right? They needed somebody with particular expertise. And so this guy joined this networking organization to meet those people, so that whenever it came up in conversation with a client, he could simply pull out his phone and say, I got a guy for that. Let me give him a call and see if we can get you in, right? Just to add value, to increase his customer service, right, for his existing clientele. And ultimately, it led to two things. One, it led to him growing his business, improving client satisfaction, getting more referrals from clients, right? And ultimately splitting off and starting his own company as a result of it, right? But it also led to him ultimately getting clients from that networking group, because he gave out so many referrals that ultimately people turned around and said, you know what, I'm going to refer people to him if they need financial planning, financial management, or retirement planning, whatever the case may be. And so it ended up doing exactly what those people who do it wrong are trying to do, right? It ended up growing his business. But there were two key differences. One, he didn't try to sell anybody in the room, right? And two, he committed to playing the long game, which I think is the other place where a lot of people get it wrong. They expect networking to deliver instantaneous results. And it's because we live in this business environment where all of the businesses we see, the big businesses we hear about in the news, we read about in the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal, et cetera, all of these businesses deal with quarter by quarter returns for shareholders, right? So they live in sort of 3-month increments. Are you making more money in this 3 months than you were in the last 3 months? Which leads to very short-term thinking. So people aren't like, and because that's what we hear about in the media, what we learn about when we study financial markets and business, then you end up with a situation where that bleeds down to entrepreneurs, to small business owners, and they're only thinking in 3-month increments, right? They're only thinking short term. And so when networking, inevitably, when you do it right, does not deliver immediate ROI, right? Does not deliver immediate growth in sales, people go, oh, it doesn't work, I'm out. And they move on to trying something else. And so I think that's the place where a lot of people get it wrong, is they approach networking with a short-term mindset where they're looking for immediate returns, and they get confused, or they conflate networking with sales. They're not the same thing. And if you're trying to sell in networking spaces, you're doing it wrong. That's my take on it.
I love them. I love every point you made, Tom, and I agree with down your list of each thing. What like the thought of showing up once and think you're going to sell people. I mean, how ignorant, how rude, and how not a way to build trust. But as when you brought up this idea, I wrote down a couple points, but one I wanted to break down first is I think when it comes to networking, I would always say be you're not trying to sell, be interesting. But that's a mistake. My mistake that I made even saying that is be interested. If you go into that same event and think I'm going to be interested in what everybody else is doing, I'm going to be interested in their business instead of, well, you're really trying to pigeonhole and see where you can jump in and talk about yourself. When I read Dale Carnegie years ago, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he said, go to that meeting, be so interested that they say, I wonder what Tom does. I like that guy so much. I'm going to follow up and connect and see what he and learn more about him. So be interested is my tip. All right, let's keep this going here, Tom. No, not the smartest guys in the room. I see a few visitors coming in. Okay. Brian P. Swift, are you a networker? Have you found anything that is a thing you hate or something that when you go networking that you tend to work for you?
No, exactly what Tom said is what, unfortunately, I see a lot of, where people are looking to make a quick pitch. And even more sadly is when people find out that you're a coach, if they're a coach, it's almost like they shut off and don't realize that we may be coaching so many different things. We may be a million miles away from what they're doing as a coach. And even if we're not, I'm a believer there is so much opportunity out there that we are not in each other's way. If you want to be successful, you're going to find a way despite being in the same room with 10 other coaches. That's where you've got to set yourself apart and be different and understand people are going to navigate to you based on so many factors, and it doesn't matter that you're in the same room, but that quick pitch before they almost get to even know you, or if you think about it, how much can they get to know you in some of these networking sessions? But sit back and, to Tom's point of the guy going to just use people as referrals, he just, and Tom, you talked about this all the time, the principle of reciprocity. That's what he was creating, right? Was that I'm going to do for you before you do for me. And I said it for 40 years. The way you get what you want out of life is by helping others get what they want out of life. And by that giving, which I know you guys are a big proponent of doing. So a lot of people have a lot to learn about networking the right way, at least. So I appreciate the opportunity. I'm complete.
Tom, since reciprocity came up, you want to jump on that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you pointing that out, Brian. You're 100% right. I appreciate you pointing it out because it kind of teased me up to kind of go off on a little exposition on something that I love to talk about. So thank you for that. Thanks for the tee up, even if that wasn't your intention. But it gives me the chance to talk about that reciprocity, that rule of reciprocation, right? Which is kind of the foundational idea behind the core principle of legendeering, which is to lead with value always, right? And the idea is that, it's that situation we've all been in as adults at some point in our lives where we're out to dinner with a friend, the check lands on the table, your friend grabs the check, and they say, I got this one, dinner's on me, right? And you always do the dance. You do that sort of inevitable, like, oh, come on, you don't have to do that. Let me get my half. Let me get the drinks. Let me get the tip, right? And you try to negotiate your way into paying for part of the check, but they insist. And so ultimately you give in, you decide to accept the gift. But the rule of reciprocation says that you cannot take or receive without giving in return. So you don't just accept the gift. You actually make two decisions side by side, and they come out in the same breath. So it doesn't feel like two separate decisions, but you say, okay, thanks so much, right? I really appreciate that. That's very nice of you. That's your way of acknowledging acceptance of the gift. And then in the next breath or the next thing out of your mouth, the next thing you say is that second decision, which is, but the next time or the next one, it's on me, right? And that's your decision to reciprocate. And Brian's 100% right. That's exactly what that gentleman was doing, whether he knew consciously that he was doing that or whether it was more of an unconscious motivation and he felt sort of he was doing it out of altruism. The end result is the same, right? He was basically creating a situation where for his existing clients, he was stacking value for them. He said, not only am I going to provide you the services that I'm being compensated for, but I'm going to go above and beyond, and I'm going to deliver things for you that you're not expecting, AKA I'm going to buy you dinner. Every chance I get, every opportunity that presents itself, I am going to jump out in front, grab the check, and pay for dinner. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again. And what that does is it ultimately creates a situation where those customers actively look for opportunities to return that value, to buy you dinner in return, right? So they go out, They find family members, they find friends who are in need of financial planning or advice, and they send them to you, right? So they go out and they actively look for chances to return that value to you. And when you do it within the context of your business, of your working relationship with them, the way that is top of mind for them to return that value to you is by helping you and helping your business, helping you grow your business. And that's exactly what happened in that case. Is that guy ended up growing his business enough that he was able to step out on his own and open his own office, right? Open his own business, become his own boss. So it's an incredibly powerful way to do it. And I really appreciate you putting it out, Brian, because I think it's a great point to hit on, that networking really is all about developing those mutually beneficial, reciprocal relationships where you are genuinely interested in the people that you get to know. You have genuine relationships with them. You want to provide value to them, and they in turn want to provide value to you. And that's how networking is really supposed to work. So thanks for that, Brian. I appreciate it. It gave me an opportunity to launch into that little rant on the rule of reciprocation, which I love to do. So thanks. And thanks for indulging me, Dom.
No worries, man. And that's good stuff. You are hitting my, like, I'm telling you, you're right on. I had a note here. Everybody wins. And so in networking, everybody should win. It shouldn't be take, take, take. It shouldn't, there's I got to think about it. Symbiotic verse. There's one where something feeds on, one feeds off the host, right? And we don't want to just feed off the host. Everybody should win here in networking.
Yeah, don't be the parasite
Yeah.
in your networking circle.
Exactly. Another thing I wanted to point out here about networking is so many people go, they get on their phone and they stand in the corner. That is not going to work. Why would somebody come up to you and be like, "Hey, what are you looking at there on your phone? That's you. You seem really engaging. I want to see what's on your phone." It's not going to happen. I mean, it's such a miss. So I had this. I started thinking about this, and you guys can give me the science behind it. When magnets pull, do they both pull together? Like if there's two magnets, do they pull into each other, or do they stay? Or does one pull? Does it matter which bigger? Does anybody know that answer? Give me an answer.
Yes. It depends on what side it is, what polarity. So you could take two magnets and put them next to each other,
Okay.
and they will pull together. If you turn one of them around, it will push the other. So they have the ability to do both.
All right. This is you're helping with my point that I haven't workshopped here. So I'm going to give you my workshop principle right here. So I was thinking, well, you're not a magnet. People don't just come to you. But then I'm thinking you are a magnet. What you put out into the world is actually what comes back to you. So if you sit in the corner looking at your phone, nobody's coming over. If you go and introduce yourself and say, what do you do? And you're on this side of the room, this side of the room, telling people, asking them how you can help you. That's probably some good polarity, Brian. Is that polarity?
I believe so. Yes, it is. I mean, we all have the ability to push away or pull into, right? And a lot of it is not just what we say, but as you stated, how do you show up to a room? Are you standing with just look at body language. Are you making eye contact? Are your arms crossed? Do you have a smile on your face? Things that a lot of us have to be very consciously aware of. I know I do. I tend to, not be as aggressive in networking situations as I probably should be, but I try to look approachable. And I think that's important.
I'm complete.
Good stuff, Mr. Swift. Thanks for being here. Thank you all for being here. Okay, we're going to roll to our friend Madison. Madison, you may be new to networking. Are there any things that you fear or any things that have worked for you when you walk into that room or when you're considering networking? What do you got for us?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I fear is, just showing up with my expertise and using my expertise to make connections with people, because I am newer to this industry. And so, so it can be easy to discourage yourself from networking because you think, oh, well, I haven't been doing this for long enough. I don't know as much as these other people. I might as well just sit here and listen. But I think what helped me, especially at Creative Con, was just sort of making connections based on what interests me, what interests the other people, just getting to know people first, and then sort of calling on your expertise or then sort of explaining what it is that you do on a professional basis, getting to know people on a personal level. At least that helped me be less nervous about speaking up, raising my hand, that sort of thing.
Good stuff, Madison. A nice plug for Creative Con. Everybody get yourself to Creative Con and in the Creative Con community. Okay, let's see here. Tom, I'm reading notes in the back channel. So let's listen in the back channel. At one point I said, Tom, this was the weirdest question. I said, want to roll around for a bit. And I meant like, should we go through everybody, or should we go to a Tom's Thumbs? And then I thought to myself, that is a weird question, asking Tom if we should roll around together. So Tom, what's the process here? You want to hit? We got 2 Tom's Thumbs today, so I gotta move things around here. But I thought our crew might like these.
Yeah, so I think you said, let's go so after Madison, let's go. I think let's do the first Tom's Thumbs because we've got 2 of them to get through. I'll try to be. I don't know what they are, so I'll try to be quick with both of them, I guess. We'll get through those. We'll go to Jason and Dr. Tachi to get some feedback from them on networking. And then I think on the backside, after we get through everybody, get sort of initial thoughts and feedback on networking, then I think we could go around. And one of the things I wanted to ask, or one of the things I wanted to talk about, which I think is a good sort of topic to lead into, is good questions, like conversation starters, ways to like start a conversation in a networking environment. So what do you do? Right. So like, I think on the backside, once we get everybody's sort of initial thoughts on networking, we work through the Tom's Thumbs or whatever, we can go around and everybody can kind of give their favorite or their idea for like a good creative conversation starter question that'll maybe arm all of us the next time we're in a networking room to have some good ways to start conversations that feel different and are more interesting than, so what do you do?
Beautiful. Okay, so here it is. First of the Tom's Thumbs. Somebody asked me a question in the back channel, and that question is going to come up later. So get ready. Okay, today's, and this is a good place to go right after Madison, because you and Madison were arguing a few weeks ago. We talked sausage, biscuits, and gravy, and Tom and Madison did not agree on who had good sausage, gravy, and biscuits, and there was a back and forth. So, and right now we are going to talk about a company that served good food that decided to change their logo from whatever it was to, a more simplistic logo. So Tom, what do you think about the rebrand, non-rebrand back to other brand? That is what you got to give me your take on.
I mean, we're just talking about the Cracker Barrel rebrand, right? Like,
it's Cracker Barrel rebrand because it's already rebranded back. It's already branded.
Did they go back? They went back already?
They went back, and it says like same great taste,
They rejected the woke.
All right,
so,
let's go. All right.
So yeah. So basically, all right. So the whole thing is stupid, right? Like the whole thing is dumb because it never should have happened in the first place. Like, and don't give me like the new logo was woke. It wasn't woke. It was just a bad logo. Like, I don't want to hear the whole like woke lame argument, like boo-hoo, cry me a river, you snowflakes. Like, because you don't like the logo, now it's woke. Everything you don't like is woke. I don't want to hear it. That's just lazy. It's intellectually lazy because you don't want to spend the time to come up with a good argument, right? So like the whole thing was stupid. The outrage was dumb, right? And the rebrand was dumb. It was unnecessary. It didn't make any sense. And it was crappy. It wasn't even good. Like if you want to rebrand because you want to improve the logo, you want to update it, like that's fine. Brands do that all the time. There's nothing wrong with a brand refresh or a brand update, but it should be better than what you're refreshing from. And it wasn't. It was just worse, right? It was lame. It was boring. it wasn't just the logo rebrand. It was they were changing the restaurants away from the sort of kitsch that they were known for. And like it just the whole thing was just it was dumb. It was a waste of time. It was dreamed up by a bunch of people in operating in a vacuum in a boardroom without really consulting with or taking into account the way people in the real world interacted with the restaurant, what they actually liked about it, what they didn't like about it. They weren't trying to serve their customers. They were trying to stroke their own egos, and that's what they get for it. So like the fake, spare me the fake outrage over the woke logo. I don't want to hear it. It's tired. It's dumb. It's intellectually lazy. It's a bad argument, right? It's a bad faith argument. So don't give me that. And then on the other side of it, if you're going to refresh the brand, if you're going to update the logo, at least make it an improvement. It can't be worse. And, you know, I, for one, if I'm going to go to Cracker Barrel, when I pull up in front of it, I want to see a cracker and a barrel on the logo. So that's all I got for Cracker Barrel. Both the rebrand and the outrage against it both get a thumbs down from me.
Double thumbs down on the first thumbs thumb. Okay, hey, I want to ask. KFC changes their logo all the time, and they got the Colonel's doing karate on the new. No, but Colonel can do whatever he wants. Colonel does karate. Colonel does all this weird stuff. Like, how come Colonel can get away with everything, and you know somebody changes their sign and they get so mad? I don't know. Colonel has carte blanche. Okay, not it's not crunchy enough though. I'll give you that. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Okay, that was Tom Sum number one. Jason, we're talking about network and now bad logo, now bad rebranding. What do you got for us, Jason?
There's a lot to unpack in this conversation. I mean, first of all, like Crackle Barrel, going for a rebanding stage, it's not for your personal opinion, whether you like it or not. It's really the logos. Do your eyes actually attract to that? I mean, if you've been to a Cracker Barrel to go eat, what are they known for? Are you really paying attention to their logo? Most likely not. But if it's an aged logo that maybe needs some updates, I mean, that's their choice. I mean, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, there's so many brands out there that have experimented with their logo change. And sometimes it was a hit, sometimes it's a miss. But well, I'll bet more than likely Tom is not a patron of Cracker Barrel. Their kind of food is not what he would be up for. So asking him would be an unqualified response. But if you're asking him personally, like, how do you feel it? Of course, that's what you're gonna get because he's not their kind of patron. He's not their kind of customer. But for ones who do and who may be interested and who've never even heard of the brand, some people may not like those colors of that orange and that yellow from the 70s or 60s, and some people might. Here's a great example about those colors. If you look at Julie's picture right now, and you look at the framework of her picture and the way that everything is placed in her picture, to me, visually, it's a pleasing. So she's putting her personal image in front of that. It accentuates her figure, it draws you in. So when Cracker Barrel did their logo change, it's using the same color scheme. Just it may work for some people and it may not. Now, as far as networking is concerned, networking is like twofold. Networking, and I was listening to reciprocity, and then I thought of the word endorsement. So reciprocity is the privilege that you're going to exchange for that means, right? And then endorsement is you gave the approval. So when you go to a networking event, what is the event about? I don't never ask, what do you do? I bring up something that was either brought up in the speech or something about the event that I'm noticing, and I let the interest feed the exchange. The interest is, like you said, with how to meet people, or how to meet friends. I know what you're trying to say, but I'm getting stumbled here. Anyways, the thing is like I come with no expectations, but I'm always open for interpretations and invitations. And when people ask me, what do I do? Sometimes it can be too intrusive. I just ask about what's going on in the event so that you can easily be more familiar in the dialogue, whether you have the experience or not. And networking is just an opportunity. But there are a lot of people who go to these events expecting outcomes and they fail miserably, or they have a weak sense of network within the people that they know that are diverse in their experience and their expertise. So networking to me is an opportunity without expectations, but I always look about what I can give and what I can take away all at the same time. So that's where I stand.
Jason, appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you being here. Hey, and Jason gave me a shout out in one of his TikToks, so I like him even more. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. Networking. Are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? Right. We hit on Cracker Barrel there. I gotta say, the sign sucked before, and the sign sucked when they rebranded it. I mean, I can barely see the guy, I can barely see the thing, so I don't get either of them. That's my take on it. They can't get it right. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. What networking? Are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? Dr. Tachi, tip for networking or complete miss that you're seeing out there. What do you got?
Can I talk about Cracker Barrel real quick first?
Go on, give me Cracker Barrel. What do you got?
Uh, I think that the whole thing with Cracker Barrel, like Tom, who I always agree with, the whole thing was idiotic and just stupid. It didn't make any sense. But I think a lot of that is coming from fear. Whenever you have times that are tumultuous, people like to cling to what they understand and what they know. I guarantee most of the people who eat at Cracker Barrel don't look at the logo or the sign or don't give two damns. However, the moment you change it, you're now changing something that I know, but you really didn't know it in the first place, but it represents something being taken away. So I think that's where a lot of the uproar is. And not just that, like, again, the redesign of the inside, it's something that's being taken away because people in general don't like change. So some factions have just chosen to make it more about something that it's not. But people in general don't like change. And I think those that are trying to exacerbate it took advantage of that. But the average person probably didn't look at the logo until it was brought up. And like Tom said, it was a terrible redesign. It was awful. Even if you didn't notice it before, you'll notice how ugly it is. It's brown and yellow, and then you just made it more brown and yellow. At least with Uncle whoever it was before, there was some level of interest. So it was just a bad redesign, but I think it also represents change that people don't like. So that took it to a whole different level. Now, in terms of networking, this has probably been said. I don't know if it was said before I got in, but know what your purpose is in networking. Sometimes people go to not just networking events, but events in general, and they have no plan or no purpose. Sometimes you don't need one. But if you're going to network or you're going to a specific networking event, it follows that you're probably going because you're looking to get something out of it. What are you looking to get out of it, right? So understand your purpose there, or there's no purpose in you being there. And then in terms of making connections with people when you are networking, one thing that to keep in mind is, like, of course, if it's a regular networking event, then you have the time to do it. But when you go to something like a speed networking, you're switching, right? And you don't have a lot of time. So if you sit there talking about what you do and all those types of things, you're wasting time. So to lead with something that is not that, because inevitably everyone is probably there representing not just themselves, but a business or something to that effect, depending on what type of networking event it is. So definitely, like Jason was saying, read the room. What kind of event is it? What was said that you could spark further conversation that is not about what you do? That is that, because again, that's the default first thing. And then I find, for example, for me, what I do is kind of a little bit unconventional. There are people doing it. And yes, I'm also a professor, but that's not the main thing I do. I'm also a content creator. I have a network and that's not something that a lot of people can identify with. So I say, they're like, oh, and they don't know what to do with it. So it's a waste of time. So I'd rather spend that time making connections on some other conversation piece, if that makes any sense. And that's what I have to offer.
Love
Thank
that,
you,
Dr.
Dr.
Tachi.
Tachi. Go on,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Go on. I like the idea of knowing what you're going there for. Sometimes I will go in with the idea, I'm at this event. I need to meet this person. I'm going to try to get something in front of them. I'm going to see how many people I can miss. Julie, what do you got for us today? We're talking networking, and we mentioned Cracker Barrel. So what do you got? The rebrand? Go on.
Never been to Cracker Barrel, so I don't feel I'm qualified to answer that question. Number one. Number two, networking, I think the most important thing every human being values is themselves. So whenever I go into networking, it's about starting with that compliment, starting with that connection, and it's all about them. And I would say 90% of the time, the conversation will come back to you. In general, I believe everybody just wants to talk about themselves 24/7. And maybe you can see a little bit of that on Clubhouse if we use that as a case study. I think that's all I got. Signing out from Vegas, day
Yeah,
5.
kick some butt out there, Julie. Good job. We
Right.
appreciate you being here. Do some networking. Julie's high level networking. She traveled across the country to network. Okay. So Brian, put a button on Cracker Barrel, and then we're going to another Tom Thumb. Everybody gets a space here. So you brought that up. Go on. 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds, though, my man. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I agree with Tom and Dr. Tachian. It's such a silly topic. I've eaten there. I don't think I could tell you if the logo, I probably wouldn't have noticed if the logo's been changed or not. I don't go there because of the logo. I go there because of the food and the service, and it's somewhere different occasionally. So it is kind of silly. And sometimes these things become ways of, not intentionally, but of just distracting people from what's real and dividing people on something that just is kind of so ridiculous. We've got other real issues and concerns and things in the world. So I will leave it at that.
Well done, man. Well done. Well played. See, we have good conversations here. Not the smartest guys in the room. The place for a good conversation. And me and Tom always admit we are not the smartest guys in the room. Second Tom Thumbs today. What do you think about the engagement between Taylor Swift, the darling, the pop darling, and Travis Kelce, the football superstar? How are you feeling inside today?
Yeah. So look, I mean, obviously on a personal level, it doesn't impact me, right? But I would say this, I think everyone deserves to be happy. I think, Taylor Swift, by virtue of her success, has probably found herself in a situation where it's difficult to find happiness, right? And in interpersonal relationships, because I would venture to guess that a lot of people who come into Taylor Swift's orbit are trying to get into her orbit because they want something from her, right? They want a bit of her glow, a bit of her shine, a bit of her influence, right, over their endeavors, their career, whatever the case may be, right? So like it is hard, I'm sure, for her to find somebody who really is interested in having a real interpersonal relationship with her rather than having it for some ulterior motive. And so it seems anyway, on the surface, from miles away, it appears that that's what she's found with Travis Kelce. And I wish them both all the happiness, right? I think it's great. Do I think it's being made a bigger deal of than it should be? Yeah, probably. But that's not their fault. Yeah, I think it's great. I wish them both all the happiness. And yeah, I think one of the things actually that my wife pointed out to me this morning was that Taylor recently appeared on an episode of the podcast that Travis does with his brother Jason, which I forget the name of off the top of my head, but anyway, their podcast, she recently appeared on it. And in that in the comments on that appearance, apparently there are a lot of football fans who listen to that podcast, understandably, like former NFL player, current NFL player, brothers doing a podcast together. Would obviously attract a lot of football fans. Apparently, a lot of the comments in there are football fans who are overwhelmingly like positive about the engagement, overwhelmingly supportive and positive and happy for them as a couple. So I thought that was really nice to hear, that it wasn't a lot of the sort of like, which I felt very small and like sort of, motivated by jealousy and kind of like, negative emotional reactions to, the whole thing with people getting mad about her being on screen at games and stuff like that. It seemed like the response was overwhelmingly positive, and I think that's good too. So, at the end of the day, hey, look, if they're happy, I wish them all the happiness in the world. I think everyone deserves to have the opportunity to be happy and to find happiness. And I hope everyone does. And so if this makes them happy, great for them. Gets a thumbs up from me.
Beautiful. So we got a thumbs up and a thumbs up for Taylor Swift, a thumbs down for Cracker Barrel rebrand today. So things are happening here. Yeah, I saw the podcast with the two of them, and I'm looking at two people that if they're acting, they're doing a great job at acting. They seem so normal, so in love, so friendly to each other. It was endearing, and I come out of it thinking, shit, that's I'm impressed by it, and with all those lights and magnifying glasses on them to be at all normal. Wow. You know, when Tom gets big and famous, uh, hope he can stay that normal. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Networking. Are we doing it right, wrong? I'm going to go around the room before we go to a show and tell, so everybody's talking again. I want a quick networking tip from everybody. Then we're doing show and tell. Then we might do a wrap up. So I don't know, Tom. That's my basic premise right now. So I'm going to start with Julie. Go on. What do you got for me, man?
Just say, like, let's be a little bit more specific, right? So rather than like just a random tip, like give us a conversation starter or your favorite question to ask someone at a networking event. How about that?
Okay. That's how Tom wants to go. Okay, all right. I don't have a good starter, so all right. But all right. So Julie, you lead if you have a conversation starter or that really good tip. That's what I'm going to say. You go either way. Go. What do you got, Julie?
Either, oh, I love your fill in the blank, or wasn't that speaker great? If you're at a networking event with speakers, like, oh, I love your purse, or I love your blah blah blah. It's harder with guys to compliment guys, but it's easier with women.
Oh, that's a good point, Julie. I mean, you could be on. You could. I might know people. I may be familiar with somebody's work and not know them. So if I'm walking up to them, loved you on this show the other day, loved your billboard, loved this. Wow, that's really cool. Or like you're saying, love your shoes, tie, whatever. So I get that. Okay. Dr. Tachi, what do you got for us? Coming back for Dr. Tachi for a tip. There you go, Dr. Tachi. What do you got?
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to step away for a minute. What am I doing?
Yeah, see, that's how we do it. We try to mess with people. So we were saying, Tom wanted, if you're at a networking event, do you have an engagement line, kind of, something to get them engaged other than what do you do? Or I said, give me a good tip. So come on, what do you got?
Okay, I'd have to think about an engagement line, but I'll go with the tip I gave before to know what your purpose is in going there. So have that ahead of time.
Yeah, so true. Well done, Dr. Tachi. Jason, what do you got for us, man?
My number one tip is take the last 5 minutes before you actually exchanged a word with that person and notice what drew you to actually connect. It could be a quick brush or something you heard in their conversation or something that you noticed. And you look at the actually what's drawing you to to a person or group and just begin with that. Notice real quickly why you just got in that sphere to actually start engaging. And the reason why I say that is because when I was a waiter, learning to approach any group of people or just person about, you already know why you're there. It's the network. Okay. Well, what if it's a network for podcasters? Let's say we're going to Creative Con. Hey, great to be at Creative Con right now. And I'm really enjoying the environment, but I'm really curious. Are you into podcasting or what's your thoughts about this event so far? Or what are you looking? Are you going to be a presenter? Find something that's socially cueing to them that you're interested in them. So, um, but that also, I left the question is like, well, what's the greatest thing that you ever took away from a networking event that still sticks with you now? That was the question I had, like when I was mentioning in the chat. So that's where I stand.
Good one, Jason. And it's a good thing to think about. What did you take away that? So
Can I ask you a question? Like, is it different networking? I'm not changing the subject, but I'm just listening to Jason. Is it different if you're networking? Let's say you see Travis Kelce at a networking event, going up to him. Do you do the same thing?
Uh, I'm going to jump out of line and steal something that Dr. Tachi said that I was thinking I forgot earlier. So you have that moment in time. You need to know how much time you have. If you're short-term messaging if you're in a networking event where you have 20 minutes to talk to somebody, or do I have one line? Am I in an elevator? So if I'm going up to Travis Kelce at an event, man, I'm coming out quick. I'm coming out guns blinging, guns blazing. I'm saying, man, you should act more. I'd love to talk to you about it someday. I'd already know something they're passionate about it. Oh, got a story. You should act more. I've got a story I'd love for you to see. Whatever. Do I know something? Oh, I hear you love animals. I hear you love animals. Oh, I'd love to talk to you about this. Have a great day. It's got to be so quick and memorable. So, but that's a tough shot, Julie. So it's a tough, quick shot, but you take it when you get that opportunity. You take the shot. So that's what I got for you.
Do the research too. You have to be bold. Like Dom knows, like this weekend, I just like took a huge leap and was like, just did a major ask, and they actually said yes. So you never know. The worst they can say is no.
Shoot your shot, go big. Okay, Madison, Tip, what do you got for us?
Well, maybe this is like too simple, but some version of what brings you here without saying that, like something to get at, like who the person knows there, or is there a specific speaker that they're looking forward to seeing, or a specific topic that they were hoping to discuss, something like that, that can sort of open them up to a deeper conversation, I guess, professional.
So you're digging in over what they're looking for at event.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Starting a real conversation. Seems like a good idea. Thank you, Madison. Okay, Brian, you're at an event, or do you have a question? What do you got?
I agree with being bold. I mean, that's the only way I got a chance to talk to David Goggins was by being bold. But I think my comfort level is revolving something around what's going on at that event, whether it's talking about a speaker or asking a question about a speaker or something because you've done your homework and due diligence, bringing up something that you found out about them that kind of alluding to what you and Julie talked about. So be bold and stay away from that mundane question they get asked all the time, no matter who it is. I'm complete.
Well done, Brian Swift. Okay, Tom, you got a tip for us. Come on, man. Or the question. Since you wanted to start with question, you better have a good one. Go on.
Yeah. So I've got kind of two options for you. So one is, I think anything that is sort of appropriate or a good topic for like Tom's thumbs, right, is probably a good question for a conversation starter at a networking event. If you want to be a little bit different, if you want to stand out in people's memories, and if you want to spark a fun, interesting conversation with them, maybe ask them what they thought about the Cracker Barrel rebrand, right? Or maybe ask them where they fall on, Travis and Taylor's engagement, right? Like those kinds of questions that are a little bit out of left field, but are in the sort of public zeitgeist at the time are great ways to get into a conversation that's relatively low stakes, could be a lot of fun, could be funny, right? And will create the opportunity to sort of develop a relationship off of it without kind of falling into the trap of what do you do? Right. And the other thing I would say, and I think maybe, although I think he just popped out of the room, I think Jason may have said this years ago when we talked about networking another time in this room before we had kind of rebranded to the show and not the smartest guys in the room, when it was just a Clubhouse thing. Back in the day, we talked about networking, and I think it was Jason who suggested this question that he likes to ask at networking events, which is to just walk up to somebody and kind of cold out of nowhere say, ketchup or mustard. And when they go, what? You go, what do you put on your hot dog? Ketchup or mustard, right? And it kind of opens up a conversation, could go in a lot of different ways and can give you the opportunity, if you're like me, to say mustard's the only right answer unless you're under 12 years old, which is the only circumstance in which it's okay to put ketchup on a hot dog. So if you're a child, ketchup on a hot dog is okay. If you're an adult, it's got to be mustard. But yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts. What do you think, Dom?
Mustard. No, Tom, I think we're rolling on. I think it's time for show and tell.
I mean, sounds good to me, man. I just didn't know if you had another question you wanted.
I jumped in and stole a tip, so yeah, research your shot. Yeah, go.
All right. Well, what do you got to show and tell us about?
Okay, well, so I posted on LinkedIn the other day. I was at a store and I posted there was a giant carton of iced tea. And when you live and you're near Pittsburgh, there's only one iced tea, and it is Turner's tea. Turner's tea, the greatest iced tea, the greatest sweet tea. The diet tea is great. Everything Turner's has is great. So I posted a picture and I said, man, like, make your supporter, hopefully your supporters are as passionate as I am about Turner's tea. Tom, with his big head, brought up, he was like, what about Turner Hill or Turkey Hill or some alternative iced tea that can't even be said in Pittsburgh? And so I even asked Turner's Tea what they thought about it, and they commented. So they were mad at Tom as well, the company. But today I wanted to show you. See, Turner's Tea. This is the diet Turner's Tea. It comes in gallons. It is the best sweet tea there is. I go through them by the gallon. When I made anything that floats a couple years ago, I put gallons of Turner's Tea on the bottom. So I wish you could have some of this. I had to open a new gallon because I didn't want to bring open the half gallon one. But Turner's Tea, the best iced tea. They call it in Pittsburgh, which I don't consider myself a Yinzer, but my son says we are. They say it's Yinzer fuel. So my show and tell today is this Turner's Tea by the gallon. I'm going to take a sip of it for you, Tom. Wow, is it good? And I will say you can even mix it with Jack Daniels and Jack Daniels honey, and it's great. That's real fuel. But Turner's Tea, the only iced tea of champions. So that is today's show and tell, Tom. What do you think?
I kind of feel like you're sort of you're butchering of or kind of forgetting Turkey Hill. It feels slightly disingenuous to me because I'm pretty sure, I mean, I might be wrong about this, but I'm pulling up a map right now to try to fact check myself in real time. I was under the impression that Turkey Hills were all over Pennsylvania.
Turkey Hills. When I go east to Somerset to the more rural areas, I see some Turkey Hill out there, but I mean, I cannot compare it to the beauty of Turner's. I will say I went to Chicago and they got no good sweet tea out there, so they need to step up their game.
All right, so I will say this. I will accept the stumbling over Turkey Hill as not disingenuous, like that was genuine, because I just looked it up on the map and it looks like the most western Turkey Hill is in like Harrisburg. So like they don't go any further west than that. I thought they were statewide. They're not. It's just Eastern Pennsylvania. And I went to college in Eastern Pennsylvania. And where I went to college, and one of my college roommates who grew up in Eastern Pennsylvania, was a huge Turkey Hill stan in the same way you're a Turner's stan, right? So like there is like Eastern Pennsylvania has Turkey Hill, and they do all the iced teas. They do all the diet iced teas, the sweet tea, the lemonade tea. Like they do all of those. This all that kind of, and I'm sure Turner does the same, but just in Western, like Pennsylvania and the Pittsburgh area. And so it's an interstate or intrastate rivalry, I would say, between Eastern Pennsylvania has Turkey Hill, Western Pennsylvania has Turner's, and never the twain shall meet. So it was my experience in Eastern Pennsylvania that led me to ask the question, which I didn't come out guns blazing. Just to clear the record, I literally wrote, "What about Turkey Hill?" ? That was it. That was the whole comment that sparked this like anger from Dominic, this outrage, and him bringing the Turner's brand in, and Jim Ajay got on board with it and was giving me grief. So pardon me for not being familiar with a local Pittsburgh iced tea company, having grown up in New York and lived in Pennsylvania for a few years in college. But anyway, That's just to clarify things. I'm glad you have your favorite iced tea, Dom. I'm happy for you. I'm happy you have Turners, which I keep almost calling Taylors.
This is the fuel of champions. All right, Tom, it's that time. Speaking of Taylor, we talked about Taylor Swift. We talked about rebrand, Cracker Barrel's rebrand. We talked about networking tips, one-liners at networking, and then we talked about the greatest iced tea of all time, Turners. Can you put a bow on all this for us?
In less than a minute, absolutely not. But what I will do is I will give one final tip, one little add-on to Dr. Tachi's tip earlier to make sure that you know your purpose going into a networking event, right? And I think that's a really good tip and something that's important. And I would say that it'll also help you kind of set your intention for why you're there and will help you clearly define goals right within the context of that networking event. So whatever the case may be, whatever your goals are, whatever your intention is, just make sure, put it through a little filter, just make sure that it's not sales, right? Because sales should never be your goal going into a networking event. If it's a real networking event, sales should not be your goal, right? And then I think also the goal should not be inward focused, right? It shouldn't be about you. It shouldn't be about your brand or your business, right? Your goal going into a networking event, I believe, should be to learn more about the people there, about other people's businesses, about them, right? And to build relationships. And I think if you go into any networking event with those goals, centered around any of those goals, building relationships, learning about other people in your area, learning about their businesses and their industries, I think you're going to find success over the long term. Remember, networking is not a short-term game. It is a long game. You have to keep at it in order for it to pay off in the end. So that's what I'm going to leave things with. I think we've said all we need to say about the rest of it, including Turner's Tea v. Turkey Hill, including the Travis Taylor engagement, including the awful rebrand and faux outrage around Cracker Barrel. And that's all I have to say about any of it. So anyway, that's all I got for this week. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate you. You guys are the reason why we do this. You're the reason why we show up every other week during the summer, because, got to have summer vacations and stuff too. And we've all got things going on. But anyway, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We thank you for the opportunity to do this for as many years as we've been doing it now. I'd have to actually stop and do a real count. I'm not even sure anymore, but we appreciate it. We love you guys, and we will see you soon. Until then, for Dom, I'm Tom. We are not the smartest guys in the room. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.